Hey, welcome to another episode of Post Loons, folks. Your host, Jacob Schneider, joined tonight by my friend and colleague, Professor Cedar himself, David Naylor. David, how you doing tonight?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Could not be better. My
Yeah.
vibes are good. The the
Well,
the loons can't ruin my vibes tonight, considering as I have brought up to my friends that have been on the YouTube chat with me, I felt way worse about this team 2 weeks ago. This isn't that bad.
like you guys went nuts in the chat before I joined here. That was a longer press conference. We had to wait on Hassani Dotson cleaning up in the locker room before he spoke to us, so it was a little delay. But I'm trying to scroll through it all, and a lot of people in here, a lot of people chatting. We've got 8 viewers within a minute. That's great. Let's get started here. I mean, one hell of a game. I'm going to call it MLS After Dark because it was an 8:30 Central kick. It was not the mainstream kick, so we're going to call it MLS After Dark because that's how it ended up. Somehow we saw 9 minutes of stoppage time. Somehow we saw VAR take away 2 major game decisions, not give another. Somehow there were 72% to 28% possession, 500 plus passes to not even 200 passes for the Loons. This was a shambolic match in terms of an MLS performance. I don't think either team deserved to win. I feel like a draw is fair. But at the same time, if you're Minnesota United, you have a 2-goal lead. How do you collapse like that? It's really poor, especially after a 2-week break. A lot of issues, David. A lot came up tonight. It's disappointing all around. Adrian Heath told me it feels like a loss. Take a road point every time of the week, but it feels like a loss. And there are some individuals who had very poor performances tonight, especially in the second half per Heath. So we'll find out more about that this week. But David, what are your initial thoughts on what we saw out there? And folks, if you are in the chat right now, I'm still catching up to all the conversations you're having. So let's use the 11:25 p.m. mark onward right now with new questions for the chat, new questions for the stream tonight. Okay, so send me what you want to talk about. Tell me what your thoughts are. We'll talk U.S. men's national team a little bit later, but right now we're solely focusing on MLS, Minnesota United, RSL. So send those questions and I'll put them up on the screen. We'll chat. But David, I want to hear your thoughts right now. Minnesota United 2, Real Salt Lake 2.
So I'm gonna start with Chris Appleby, who has just reposted this comment, but he posted it about 45 minutes ago now, which I'll pull up here on the screen.
Yeah.
22 shots allowed in one half is a firing offense enough to me. Yeah, I'm being dramatic, but that's not new. Shout out to Chris from the program. The Minnesota performance in the second half was kind of pathetic. And after a first half, which I was completely complimentary of their performance, they weathered the initial storm that happens on the road. They caught 2 good goals on the break. They got to halftime without making a mistake going in. And then as soon as you see them give up a goal it was the warning sign was that second goal that was disallowed 2 minutes into the second half, the long shot from Pablo Ruiz was they gave that opportunity up entirely too easily. I think it was Bongi had a turnover in the box that he just got pressured and coughed the ball up for no reason. And that's this warning sign that, like, are they really going to actually hold on to this 2-goal lead for the entirety of this second half? And lo and behold, they give up the first Real Salt Lake goal that actually counted in the 78th minute of this game. And then, to bring up another comment from before Jacob arrived this stream from Chris Appleby, 80th minute, Adrian Heath subs on Brent Kallman for Sung-Bin Jong, as I recall, in the single most classic Adrian Heath coaching move I can possibly remember, where Adrian Heath subs on a third center back in place of an attacker in order to shore up the team. And then Minnesota pretty much immediately goes on to give up a game-tying goal by the end of that game. And yeah, it was a well-taken goal in the 98th minute by Justin Glad. But, like,
the question comes down
we've seen this so many times in 7 years. So many times. And it's always Brent Kallman. It's not his fault, but, like, it is.
I don't understand where 9 minutes of stoppage comes from. The VAR intervention on the 48th minute, no goal, the one that was taken away due to obstruction for RSL, was maybe 60 seconds. Garcia's injury in the 53rd, maybe another 60 seconds. Okay, that's 2 minutes. You tell me you found 7 more minutes of breaks throughout the rest of the 90? Let's use RSL's goal, 45 seconds. Okay, we're nearing 3 minutes of stoppage. Give me another minute for shenanigans here and there, a little bit of time wasting. I would even like be okay with 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes would have been fair. But 9? Where the hell do we get 9 minutes of stoppage from, David? It doesn't make sense. Adrian Heath said it didn't make sense. Hassani Dotson said it didn't make sense. I mean, I look at things from a neutral perspective. When I talk on here, folks, I am not a Loons fan. I'm a media member. I don't look at this from, the fact that I want to see my team that I'm a fan of get a result. That's not how I look at it. I'm genuinely baffled as an MLS personality on how we got 9 minutes of stoppage here. It makes no sense to me. I just don't get it. And I did submit. I'm waiting for a response right now. For everyone in here, I did submit a question to the RSL pool reporter to ask VAR about the no call in the 53rd minute on Mender Garcia. What we saw appeared to be Oviedo tackling Garcia, and there was a whistle on the field, but it was because Garcia stayed down for injury. It wasn't a whistle for a foul. But upon replay from the MLS Apple TV crew, what we saw was that Oviedo did not get ball. He got Hlongwane's ankle, and the commentary crew even pointed it out. And we're kind of like, okay, so are we getting a call here? Are we getting VAR? Are we circling back? What's going on? And nothing came up. And it's one of those instances where if you've got a major VAR intervention 12 minutes into the game, if you've got another major VAR intervention in the 48th minute, that's already 2 times you've come up. You need consistency. You can't be performing like this as a referee crew and not give consistency, because it's the one thing we beg for in this league is just consistency. If there's bad refereeing across the board, at least it's consistent. If there's good refereeing across the board, at least it's consistent. But in every single match we watch right now, it's just an up and down performance from crews each week, and it makes no sense. And it's not always the on-field crew. That's not who we're talking about here. I actually thought Tori Pensa refereed the match fairly well today. I really had no general complaints. I just don't understand the 9 minutes of stoppage. My question goes to the VAR crew here, because what's going on there? You've got a player sliding in from behind an attacker, getting his ankle, and not the ball. So it makes no sense to me. I didn't understand it.
It's not even necessarily that the call is wanted, right? Like, we can argue back and forth about whether or not it's a call. The entire point of VAR is so that you can look at the replay in case you missed something in real time. Like, that's why the system exists.
Yes.
And yeah, like, it can get to be too much, right? This would have been the third instance of VAR in this match, 50 minutes into the game. And like, yeah, that feels like a lot of stoppages and a lot of usage of it, but it would have been 3 separate instances, both of RSL's goals, obviously, and then this where a replay could have gained you some additional insight that you might have missed. So, like, even if they went to check the VAR and gave nothing, let alone like if it was a dog so red card, or if it was a yellow card for a trip, or if it was like any number of these things it could have been, or if they review it and just go back to the original call and call it a goal kick and let it be.
Yeah.
Like, look at it. Why not look at it? That's what I don't get.
We got Michael Jacobson in the chat saying agree should have been a foul, but you still have to protect the 2-goal lead with 12 minutes left in regulation. Michael, I believe the point of that was bringing on 2 central defenders. You can call Bakaya left back, whatever, 2 defenders, and playing what was basically a back 7. I mean, it's frustrating. They parked the bus. It didn't work. Jose Mourinho tactics. It didn't work. I mean,
the Debasi, like, I'm glad Debasi played. I'm so glad to see him back. That is great objectively. Why is he there? Like, one of the things that drove me nuts about that specifically, like, the Coleman thing we've seen a bunch and it feels like it never works, but they've at least played with 3 center backs before. Have Tapias, Boxall, Coleman, DeBossi ever been on the pitch together at the same time in practice?
Uh,
They sure as hell haven't in a game.
I mean, you've had Bakai healthy since about like 90 minutes healthy since about the beginning of June. And they've just been cautious with him because of everything that's happened with
But
him.
like, are they practicing for center back formations?
No, you're not. And
like
the thing is though with Bakai is Adrian was contemplating playing him at left back today because he played there in Liga 1 before he transferred to Minnesota United. I can't recall the team he was with. I want to say it was Ashe, but I'm not sure. But Bakai's played left back before. He's a left center back in general. So, if he does go into the team, it's going to be competition for Mickey Tapias. And, as solid as Mickey's been, it's good to have competition there because we all know Michael Boxall's staying in his spot. He's the one you're not going to get rid of. He is, a club captain. He was beat on the first goal, yes, but that rarely happens despite his growing age. He's got a big presence there. He's a leader. I don't see him being removed, especially when you've got two left-sided center backs competing for that spot. Christopher says it was Angers, not Ashe. So wherever Bakai came from, it was in Liga 1. He played left back, and Amiens. All right, Amiens it is. We've got all three A teams from Liga 1.
I looked it up,
but Ashe, Angers, and we're wrong. It's Amiens. Okay, we've got it. But I think this is a good transition moment for me. Left back's been a worry. It's been a problem all year, David. Let's be honest. Kemar Lawrence hasn't been at his best. Devin Paddleford is a very raw footballer, great potential, but very raw. And DJ Taylor is not a left back. He's playing there because he's being forced to at the moment, but he's not a left back. This upcoming transfer window, everybody, the Loons are making left back a priority. I asked Adrian Heath about it post game, and what he informed me is that they are in talks / pursuing a target. They have one in mind. They're pushing for a deal. It would be a transfer, not a free agent, and they're hoping to get that deal over the line once the window opens in early July, and that comes in accordance with the transfer of Timo Pukki in as a designated player for the club. Timu he's been linked, for the past month now. It appears that's going to be happening, and once he gets in, you've got a proper 9, someone for Mender Garcia to learn from too, because we have to remember how young Mender Garcia is. And, despite everything he's, done for the club so far this year, he hasn't really had a striker, a veteran, somebody experienced to learn from. And I think that's going to play a key role in his development here. Christopher, it'll be a competition for starting left back. You asked in the chat, the incoming transfer will be competition for the starting left back spot. But it also have to note that Kemar Lawrence is with Jamaica in the Gold Cup, everybody. Jamaica are legit. I've been talking about it for like a week now, but people don't realize Jamaica may have the best squad out of anybody in the entire Gold Cup. The U.S. did not deserve a draw today. We'll talk on this later. But Jamaica are legit. Lawrence subbed on in the second half, got a yellow card in the 84th minute. But very good team. I would expect them to make the knockouts, probably advance through the quarters, at least to the quarters, and make a semifinal run. They're good enough. They are. But that pushes his absence further. So you might not see Kemar back until like the LAFC game on the 16th. And if Jamaica make the final, he won't even be back to the Leagues Cup. So use that for context here. And, do you want to play DJ Taylor out of position continually for the next almost month? No, you don't. If that means Paddleford gets a nod, maybe it means he does. But it's not ideal. So they are looking for a left back. They are looking for a striker. And they are also pursuing a midfielder. Although there's nothing concrete there. They have an idea of the player caliber they want, the type of player, and they're looking for the fit. Something to keep an eye on is the open U22 initiative slot that they have. Eyes were on the U20 World Cup that happened in Argentina in May into June. An area where we all know they were scouting was South Korea. South Korea had a fantastic U20 World Cup. Keep an eye on that. Other options are Uruguay, who were your champions, and the Loons have already scouted a designated player from the U20 World Cup that played on that Uruguay squad in Tomas Chacon in 2019. Obviously, that did not work out, but they're familiar with the teams there. Teams are familiar with them. And on top of that, they won the tournament. Those are two countries I'd keep an eye on in terms of scouting for that Open U22 initiative slot. I'm sure we'll hear more in the coming weeks, but, there's some transfer news for you all. Any more questions on those? Type them in the chat. But we're going to keep talking MNUFC RSL. But we've got Michael Jacobson back in the chat asking if any hot seat rumors, if the team doesn't make the playoffs. It is a low bar to not make the playoffs. And, I think MNUFC are fine. I think they're right where they need to be right now. I think I look at it as your best player was on let's call it a 4-month hiatus. On top of that, you've had numerous injuries. You've had underperforming designated players. God, I would look at it as maybe not Keith being the issue right now. Maybe some of the people that are bringing in those underperforming players. That's my take. I don't think you can keep allowing scouts to bring in players who are not MLS caliber. Juan Chope Avila, Luis Amaria, Tomas Chacon. The list goes on. Fernando Bob. Don't go back to 27-18. You can't even remember any of those guys.
Maximiano, baby.
Maximiano. Bashkim Kadri. The list goes on. Like I said.
Let's remember some guys. Jean-Marc Leonard did this a few weeks ago. It's a great time.
Yeah, but you go on that list and it's not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. How many of them stuck around? Robin Wood.
Oh, yeah, and you got rid of Christian Ramirez, who scored 7 MLS goals this year now, by the way,
but
if we're going to scratch the cold wounds.
That was a great trade for them in the moment because it helped them get both Ozzy Alonso and Ike Opara. They would not have been able to get either of those players who ended up being core players, for 2 years, including Ike winning, Defensive Player of the Year. It was a valid trade. It made sense. It's just the fact that the scouts have not brought in anybody to replicate the numbers that Christian put up, and that's what's frustrating. But we'll talk a little more on that later. David, we've got our 3 things we go over for each show. My first big thing I wanted to talk about was, I already kind of talked about it, was the VAR consistency/inconsistency. I'm waiting to hear back from my pool reporter question submitted. I might send a follow-up if I don't hear back shortly. But it's just frustrating because I just beg for consistency, man. That's all I want. I want this league to be viewed as a top league. I want people who are going to be tuning in come July for Leo Messi's arrival to be watching this and not make a mockery of it. Because far too often people don't even watch MLS and they're already making mockeries of it. My goal as a content creator is to see this league continually grow and be a part of it. But we can't do that if there's just this lack of consistency. If there's the accountability, consistency, it doesn't make sense to me, man. It's frustrating.
To be fair, did you watch the Premier League this year? They're not much better at it than we are.
They have money, at least.
To be completely fair, specifically in VAR, no one knows what a penalty was in VAR in the Premier League this year. Not a soul.
Fair enough.
But so I want to ask you then, on that note, what were your takes on the 2 goals that were disallowed? Did you agree with the removal of both those goals? The first one for the foul or lack thereof by DJ Taylor, I think, and the second one for obstruction of Clint Irwin's sight line.
I'm sorry. I think I'm hearing back on my thing right now, my question submitted right now. But what I'll say is no penalty in the 12th minute, 100% not. Foul committed outside the box. If there was one player drove on and dove into the box to try and get the penalty. The issue, though, of why it was not a foul, why the ball did not go back to RSL, though, is because it was a referee error. It was not a player error on the field. The referee realized that they called a foul in the box, and after review, they cannot put that ball outside the box for a foul because they called the foul inside the box, and they didn't deem it to be one, a red card offense, or two, like a violent conduct or anything of the sense. So ended up being a drop ball for Clint Irwin. Made sense. I'm okay with it. 48th minute, Clint Irwin is a big man, but you don't judge it by that. You judge it by the fact that the player was offside. If that player is not offside, if he's 2 feet further up the field, aligned with the defenders, and still obstructing view, he's fine, I bet. But the factor is that he put himself in an offside position, therefore obstruction makes sense. I'm okay with it. I don't have to agree with it, but from a rule book standpoint, it makes sense, and I am okay with that because it makes sense. When things don't make sense, and I have to question it, I sit there and I'm like, why? But this is in the rule book. The player is in an offside position. It makes sense, you know?
Yeah, to bring up Michael Jacobson had a comment on this earlier.
Valid.
I just hate the obstruction call like that. I don't know. It looked like Irwin just played the bounce horribly to me. Still had a legit shot at saving it. And like that can be true and probably is true that Irwin needed to play it better. But by the rule book, as Jacob states, I agree with him. That like it was called for the reasons that it was called for.
Yeah, no, and I look at, one of the things I also want to talk about tonight was Emmanuel Reynoso's performance, and I think that's a big positive to take away because that was some magic in the first half. That second goal, man, like he made that run beautifully. Songbin with a lovely lob. I mean, the Loons don't have anybody like that crash in the back post, and when he's back now, that's a threat. They're not going to give him the assist on the first goal because after he put the ball into the box, McMath deflected it, then it bounced off an RSL player, and then Dotson hit it. But I'm going to give Ray his assist there because he held up the ball for probably 15 seconds, David. Like to allow everybody to catch up and get into the box. How many players do you know have that presence where a defender will not even – they'll just jockey them. They won't even stab because they know if they stab, they're screwed. If they stab in the box, they give him a run. The RSL defenders, all three of them that were on the edge of the box with him, are jockeying. Not one of them thinks about stabbing at the ball. That just shows the presence and the power that one player can bring. And obviously Ray fools around a little bit, does some footwork, gets the ball in, is a big presence. Things are looking up for Minnesota. And I also want to point out, guys, that RSL are really good. And they're only going to get better with Chicho Arango. Maybe people don't realize it because of the fact that Mastroeni has kind of become an MLS meme due to his playoff performances, the 0-0 shootout against Seattle in the playoffs like 2 years ago, or was it last year? I don't even remember. But RSL are a really good team, and they're kind of they've been dubbed the Road Warriors of MLS, but their form heading into tonight, they haven't lost a game since May. They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like counting tonight, that's 6 straight without a loss. They're in form. So, I mean, a point is a point.
Including a win on Wednesday over Western Conference leaders St. Louis City FC, by the way.
Here's that. No, David, don't even get me started on St. Louis. I think they're the biggest
one again tonight,
MLS has ever
by
seen.
the way.
Wait. I want to talk this. This is mine. This is my guy. Michael, welcome to the show. I don't know if I've seen you around here before. Thanks for tuning in. You have mentioned my favorite player on the field tonight, my favorite player to watch at the U20 World Cup. And there are so many fun stories about Diego Luna, but he's a kid. He's got like tattoos up his neck, on his shoulders, on his arms, on his chest, on his back. He's got earrings. He's got the whole look, and he lives up to it. He is so saucy on the ball. He is so ridiculously talented. If he doesn't start the rest of the season for RSL and Mastroeni and get a big move to Europe in January, there's something wrong because people look at this kid. He is everything that is good about the game. He has the look. He has the attitude. He has the skills. I mean, he was phenomenal Wednesday against St. Louis. He was really good tonight. I didn't expect to see Luna play the entire match. I was thinking Mastroeni was going to be like, all right, we're down 2 goals. Who am I taking out? All right, the kid. No, he let the kid play. and that kid made an impact. That right there is the perfect example of a young kid taking his chance and succeeding in Major League Soccer because he's 19. He's a U.S. U20 international, just had a fantastic U20 World Cup, now is a starter for his club team. Wasn't before he went. He was a bench cameo player. I mean, brilliant. I'm thrilled for him. I love to see it. I love to see it. Um, Here's a quick story, though, that I know about Diego. You're going to love this one, David. Um, Despite signing an MLS contract and playing at 17 years old, he still wanted to, be a kid. So he worked at Dutch Bros, which is a coffee shop in Utah. So he worked at a coffee
Outstanding.
shop with fellow high schoolers while being a professional Major League Soccer player. And I just say, like, it's awesome. Michael, I said he's a US U20 international. So Michael in the chat asked if he's a US international, US U20 international. Yeah, super fun kid, super fun player. I'm all aboard the Diego Luna hype train. Let's see more of him in the Leagues Cup. Let's see more of him throughout the rest of the season in Major League Soccer. And let's hope that Minnesota United are able to produce a player that brings joy on the pitch like that soon. From a homegrown standpoint, it might be a year or two, but I would love to see it. And and I think he is a good example of that kind of player. So, David, who is your biggest performer on the pitch tonight for Minnesota United?
Can I talk about not Emmanuel Reynoso?
Yeah,
Since you just did that admirably, because I mean he's the answer, but like we did that. He's great.
Did you see my tweet on who Adrian Heath picked up?
Yes, I did. Do you
What
want
were
to
your
share that
thoughts on
with the
Zarek
gang?
Valentin's performance tonight?
So I have one comment on Reynoso, and then I will share mine. I think it should be noted in our analysis of the second half of this game that this was Emmanuel Reynoso's first start in 7 months, 8 months since the playoffs. And we know, or may have forgotten from watching this team last year, that while Reynoso at the peak of his powers is something to behold, one of the things that has been a problem with this team and with him in the past is that he fades out of games later in games as he gets tired and becomes less of a factor on the pitch. Now, they had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. That's fine, but he was not starting before this break, remember? And so I would suspect that there was at least some fatigue at play in him becoming less of a factor on the ball in the second half than he was in the first half. And even in the first half of this game, he was great and kind of unplayable in a couple times. There were a couple other times, though, where it should be noted that he missed passes that you would normally expect him to hit. He had a couple of opportunities on the break after Minnesota was already up 2-0 to set up balls for Sangmin Jong or for Bogakule Hawane or for whoever was running up forward to hit a through ball that he way overcooked, which is not something I would expect to see from him and didn't see from him at points this evening. So he's clearly not still actually all the way back yet, and yet we're still talking about him the way that we're talking about him. So
I would expect him to be
bear that in mind
on that level come like after the leagues or once the Leagues Cup starts, let's call it.
It's in like 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
The 20th.
They said it over and over and over on the broadcast tonight. I should know.
Yeah. And I have a little bitter agenda against the Leagues Cup, but that's in my professional life. So I'll talk about that later on the timeline, maybe this coming week. But the Leagues Cup is really exciting. I'm stoked for it from a soccer perspective. Loons have a fun string of games coming up. We'll talk more about it soon. But David, Zarek Valentin, talk to me about Zarek. What did you see from him tonight? Just note this. He played a full 90 at center back for Puerto Rico Tuesday. Played a full 90 over the weekend for them at center back too, internationally. Comes here, plays 90 at right back, and then at right center back for the final 15 minutes in that back five. Talk to me.
He didn't put a foot wrong. Like that, it's that easy to say. Like you don't think about even thinking through the moments of this game that didn't go well for the Loons. You don't think of. You could probably think of a moment for about every other player on the pitch that was a frustrating moment for one reason or another. I can certainly go through right top of my head, and I can think of pretty much 10 moments right now. But I can't think of a single one for Valentine. He was exceptional and competent, which is
He looked like
about
an MLS veteran.
everything you could ask for in a defender at the
Yes.
MLS level.
And I think that's something that people haven't really picked out is that Zarek Valentine was brought in on a free this offseason, and hot take, but he might be the most consistent player at the moment. Him, Hassani Dotson, I'd argue have been the two most consistent players so far this season. Quick shout out to Will Trapp. I think Will's had a major step up this season from the end of 2022. But in terms of consistency, those are the three I'm looking at right now. That every week I know what I'm going to get for them if they start.
Read my piece about Hassani Dotson and Will Trapp on sotasoccer.com that was published yesterday.
Yeah, guys, read David's piece.
Jacob and I are of the same mind on this.
That's why we're friends outside.
Michael, I do. I wrote about it yesterday, just how much I enjoy it.
You know what else? You know what else I enjoy, David?
What do you enjoy, Jacob? What brings you happiness?
Saving money. And right now, I'm going to tell you how you folks can save some money from my friends over at Golaco Kits. Listen, I love footy jerseys. I love finding vintage soccer stuff. Buying, trading, selling, collecting. It's up my alley. I love it. And one of the cooler pieces I have is I've got a 1996 U.S. men's national team Nike bomber jacket. I've got some vintage Brazil stuff from the 90s, vintage MLS stuff. I love it. But you know where you can find a lot of that stuff is Golaco Kits, and they're an awesome partner of us at Sota Soccer. Let me tell you about them. They are the newest sponsored Loons post-game show in Sota Soccer. Golaco Kits, GOLACEO, kits.com. If you use code Loons, it's where you can get unique vintage jerseys, hard pressed to find anywhere else. Prime example, they have multiple NASL era Minnesota United jerseys in stock. Fellow Sota Soccer employee Dominic Bisogno just bought a Venezuelan national team cap there. Selection is vast. The quality of their products is basically new. If you're skeptical, check it out. GolacoKits.com. It's GOLACO, kits.com, and use code Loons, all caps, LOONS, all caps, at checkout to receive 15% off your order. Jerseys, jackets, apparel. They got mystery kits and mystery boxes. You save 15% on anything and everything when you head to GolacoKits.com and use our code. Huge thanks to them for being our sponsor and for supporting our work here at Sota Soccer. One thing I do want to point out about
if you're looking for a particular Golaco kit tonight, since we're on the Zarek Valentine topic, may I recommend this Puerto Rico FC 2017 player issue autograph thing that's the item from Puerto Rico on this list. Sweet.
But on top of that, we've had multiple Sota Soccer listeners head to Golaco Kits, DM me about it, and be thrilled with their purchases. We've had people do mystery kits. One of the guys got a 2021 Italy national team authentic jersey for like the $40 it cost for a mystery kit. Authentic kits are like $150 plus, guys. It's up in the air what you could get brand new, vintage, whatever. But they do really fun stuff there, so check them out. Again, GOLACEO kits.com. Thank you, Golaco Kits, for sponsoring today's show. Now, David, back to the MLS shenanigans. Can
I talk about Seungmin Jong?
Yeah, let's talk about Seungmin.
I want to talk about Seungmin Jong
but before we do that, we have a question we need to answer because it's on the retaining or the topic we were just discussing. So let's do that quick, and then we'll talk Seungmin. The Dotson Trapp pairing, I think it is the best midfield pairing Minnesota United has at the moment. I think Kervin Arriaga has become far too inconsistent, and I had a spiel about that a few weeks ago. But Kervin might not be the best player in this system. Might be a really good MLS player. Might be someone who is better in a single pivot. Dotson Trapp is the best pairing Minnesota United has at the moment. I think I would have loved to see them bring back Jogo last fall after he had a great campaign after being brought in August. Another midfielder, I think, would have been fun. I think he showed potential. They opted not to bring him back because we had Hassani Dotson returning. But now they are looking to bring in another midfielder this summer, whether it's an 8 or a 6, I'm not sure, but they have their candidate or the profile of a candidate they have in mind. So we'll wait and see there. But I think right now, Hassani Dotson is no doubt a locked in starter. And I think if you're looking between Will Trapp and Kervin Arriaga, right now I'm throwing flowers at Will Trapp every single time. David?
The ghost of Robin Lod haunts this question as well, may I just note, because Robin Lod as an option at the 8 continues to exist once
Robin's
he
done for
actually
the year,
returns from
man.
injury.
Like, he's not officially done for the year, but we're talking if he does come back, Robin won't be. We're talking last game of the regular season, opening round of the playoffs, and at that point, you just say rest up, bud.
Yep.
You don't want to injure.
Just the specter of Robin Lod watching over this question, because he still exists. He's just probably not going to play again for quite a while.
What could have been with Sam Cronin?
Let's not do this. What could have been? We got a number of those too.
Wait. We could talk Singbin now. Before we do that, folks, if you are watching, if you're in the chat right now, saw some more questions our way. We'd rather hear from you. We'd rather, you tell us what to talk about than what we have written on a Google Doc. And while you're at it, take a few seconds, give us a like, give us a retweet, give us a shout out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Send those questions in through YouTube. Send those questions in through Facebook. However, StreamYard is not partnered to send questions in on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to send us a question. However, our Twitter handles are listed on the screen here in unique fashion, right under our names. So tweet at us, and we'll read your question on air. If that is,
I have TweetDeck up right there. Twitter works fine.
If that's the way you are watching. So, folks, send them in. All right, we appreciate you.
Also, go to patreon.com/SotaSoccer and give us your money.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about that at the end of the show. But folks,
just giving the pre-plug there.
Your support is crucial to the success of this organization we have, to the success of this show, the success of our coverage. For as low as $3 a month, you can subscribe via Patreon. And by doing so, you allow us to create content. You allow us to attend training sessions. You allow me to go to Allianz Field. You pay for my gas to go there. You pay for the cup of coffee I need on the way there. The little things like that. Obviously, we are not full-time employees at Sota Soccer. We are not completely sustainable. And, one day we'd love to be, but we're not at that level yet. But we can be with your support. We can be with, all the love you guys give us. And like David said, give us your money. SotaSoccer.com or patreon.com/SotaSoccer. Little as $3 a month. You can support us. Now, back to the soccer balling. Send us your questions in, guys. But David, Ben, what did you see from him tonight in his first start at left wing when he's never played there for Minnesota United before?
And while playing there, recording his first MLS assist.
That's true.
Which was a peach. Let's just go back to that again. Because, as much as I want to continue harping on how bad the second half was, that second goal was just absolutely gorgeous. And I don't want to forget DJ Taylor's ball to Songbin to set up Songbin's pass, because DJ Taylor hit the perfect ball to set him up to hit that. But Songbin, I thought, one of my three things that I wrote down from this piece was, or from this match was, what can this specific set of attacking midfielders do with more time together? The trio of Sangmin Jong and Bongakule Hangwane with Emmanuel Reynoso. Because obviously with Reynoso's absence, these three haven't gotten to play together that much. Songbin has been kind of bounced around to play in places depending on various other factors this year. He's been played up top. He's been played at the 10 in Reynoso's absence, and now he's out on the left wing. And I thought he had really good moments tonight. I thought that the assist was absolutely phenomenal and was the perfect ball at the perfect place to the perfect time. And he had the second biggest chance of this entire game by XG. His chance in the 32nd minute, running clear on goal and unable to finish past Zach McMath with defenders either side of him. It was a tight window, and it would
It
have
was
been a
down the middle.
difficult finish to do, but that was a real goal scoring chance for him. So I know Jacob had tweeted some numbers in the first half that weren't promising for him in terms of just the comfort level playing on this left wing, but I liked a lot of the ideas I saw coming out of his appearance, and I want more of this.
Fair enough. Valid. For those that didn't realize, Franco Fragapane was dealing with a thigh issue. That's why he was not available today. Hopefully that he's able to play midweek in the friendly against FC Kaiserslautern. And it's MNUFC versus FCK. If you haven't seen the billboard on 35W, I highly recommend going out of your way just to see it. A Twitter image, is good enough, but it's pretty funny. That'll be a fun one. Hopefully a lot of the homegrowns get to play. Hopefully, I don't know what the rules and regulations are for the MNUFC2 rostered players, if they can run out there. But, ideally you'd like to get the likes of Emmanuel Iwe out there. If Diogo Pacheco is healthy, get him out there. Cam Dunbar, of course, Devin Paddleford. If Mikel Marquez is healthy, I don't believe he is, but if he is, get him out there. And see what happens. Give the guys minutes against a very competitive side. If there's one thing we know about those German teams is that they're big, they're strong, and they're not going to take it easy. So, get minutes, get healthy, come back, and get a result at Allianz Field next weekend. David, you're going to like this one. We got a comment from Gage Zastro in the chat. Gage, I'm not sure if I've seen you around here before either, but thank you for watching tonight. Thanks for joining the show. We're putting your question up on the screen now. Am I crazy to think that Sengbin, Emmanuel Reynoso, and Bongi could become one of the best attacking trios in the league? I'm going to say yes, because we're going to call it an attacking quartet, like they're singing, and add Timo Pukki to that group, and then I'll agree with you, because that group ain't doing crap without a striker.
That is
they
the
need
problem,
a striker
as it stands.
So add Timo Pukki to that group, and I'll entertain you. But one, they're not touching, despite their form, they're not touching LAFC's attacking core. They're on their best day. FC Cincy, or the forthcoming Inter Miami attacking group. So top five, I'd listen, but that's on paper. Results need to happen more so than on paper. So we'll see what happens. I think
Bongi needs a goal.
Bongi needs some confidence.
Bongi needs to get his confidence back. His confidence has looked shot for weeks.
Need to tell him to call his mom. Do you know that story?
No,
Every
I
time
don't.
if he's in the games that he scored this year, like 3 out of the 5, his mom has called him before the game and given him like a pep talk. But there's a huge time difference sometimes, so it doesn't work. But she's called him and given him pep talks, and on those games he scores. I love Bongi. He makes me happy, makes me smile. He's always very kind in the locker room. It's fun when he is fun. It's fun when he's happy. I mean, so hopefully the Loons can get a result this weekend, and we'll see maybe some traditional South African music in the locker room post game, because that's always a blast when it is. But folks, we've reached the midnight hour. We are past at 12:07 a.m. Thank you for still watching. Thank you for still tuning in. It is officially MLS After Dark. David, we could talk a little more about Minnesota United RSL, or we can jump into U.S. men's national team stuff, or the rest of MLS. What are you feeling right now across the league, or U.S. Jamaica?
Brandon Vasquez needs to start game 2 of the Gold Cup.
Not just Brandon Vasquez, but Jordi Mihailovic, Brian Reynolds, not Aaron Long, and yeah, I'm good there. Aaron Long is a good player. Aaron Long is no longer a good U.S. men's national team player.
Aaron Long got yanked off at halftime of this game, and it was deserved.
Miles Robinson was on the bench. That's like Tottenham benching Harry Kane in favor of Vinicius when he was there. That's what that would be like. Is that a good comparison, David?
I would have gone Vincent Janssen if we're gonna go down the Tottenham failed backup striker places,
Yeah.
but sure.
For those that don't know, David's a Tottenham fan, and I actually had a friend message me tonight and say that that Loons match reminded me of watching Tottenham because he's also a Tottenham fan. So maybe that's valid. Christopher, no, he's not. He's been playing regularly in MLS. He also played the Mexico match in the Nations.
He'd been playing for Atlanta for a minute, I think.
3-0 in the Nations League. He started. He did not start the final though, but he just was benched tonight, and it made no sense because people were sitting there like, it's Jamaica. We'll beat them. But they didn't realize that they have 6 Premier League players in their starting 11, the best goalkeeper in Major League Soccer, 2 players from the English Championship, and a lot of good vibes. Like, that's a good team. They are a really, really good team. Miles' injury in the Mexico game was nothing. It was said he was able to play in the final if he needed Christopher. So he was good to go. It's simply just a coach's decision. But back to this. It's the fact that people just didn't put respect on Jamaica's name going into this tournament. And I told David before the game kicked off, and I said, if I was a betting man, I would have put money on Jamaica beating the U.S. men's national team tonight.
You owe me $1.
David did put $1 down on it, and but the payout would have been like $16, right?
Yeah, because I bet exact score. You told me 2-1. It finished 1-1. You owe me $1.
You bet exact score. Okay. Well, maybe one day soon. I'll buy you a beer next time you're in Minnesota.
There you go.
Sound good? David's based out of Iowa, if you guys don't realize. But Jamaica are a really good team. I don't think there's enough respect on them. I think this U.S. roster is good enough to win the Gold Cup. I'm just not sure that they put out their best group tonight. I think that's a flaw. I think Jamaica are going to win the group. I think the U.S. are going to have a harder route to the final. And shout out to Kamar Lawrence. Came on, got a yellow card, did his part.
If we're shouting out Loon connections in this game, we're shouting out Damian Lowe, former Minnesota United player, getting the goal for Jamaica.
Fair enough. Yeah, Damian Lowe did score the opener for Jamaica. It was, how do I put it? It was a really good goal. Everton winger Demarai Gray, who used his one-time FIFA switch as a dual national to go from England to Jamaica last week, started it. The front three for Jamaica tonight was an Everton starting winger, a starting striker for West Ham, and a starting winger for Aston Villa. Like, that's impressive, man. Jamaica have gotten really good. Put some respect on them. That's all I ask. Exciting to see where the Gold Cup goes. Exciting to see what happens with Dane St. Clair in Canada, Josef Rosales in Honduras. I would have loved to see Zarek Valentin in Puerto Rico make the Gold Cup. Unfortunately, they crashed out in the final qualifying match on Tuesday. But they lost 2-0 with Martinique. But rooting on the Minnesota United players, your respective nation. It's a fun time. Good matches, and then upcoming string of MLS matches. Then the Fun Leagues Cup. Got the Women's World Cup starting soon. Shout out to the No Sleep gang that'll be watching that with me because New Zealand time zone switches. Be a fun July, fun month of July for soccer. Really busy, but I'm looking forward to it. David, how about you?
Yep, that about covers it.
No Sleep gang?
Jokes here about how it's better than watching Tottenham. Am I right?
Yeah, I know. Premier League's only like a month and a half away now. It's crazy. But focusing on MLS here, it was a pretty wild night across the league. As we wrap up the show here, we're at the 50-minute mark. I'm going to do a quick rundown of league scores tonight. David, when I read these scores at the end, I want you to tell me one match that kind of stuck out to you, or maybe a result that sticks out to you. Charlotte and Montreal 0-0. Columbus Crew win a big match against Nashville SC 2-0. Christian Ramirez scores. DC United 3-0 over FC Cincinnati. That's your league leading FC Cincinnati without Brandon Vasquez and Matt Miazga. And Mascara, who is a defender. New England 2-1 over Toronto. New York Red Bulls 4, Atlanta United 0. The Union 4, Inter Miami 1. Sporting KC fall 1-0 to Chicago Fire. Austin FC win the Texas Derby 3-0 over the Houston Dynamo. Rapids and Galaxy tie 0-0. Color me shocked there. Very, very shocked that neither of those teams scored. RSL Minnesota 2-2, of course. A big one here. LAFC's skid continues. 3-2 loss to Vancouver Timbers and NYCFC 1-1. St. Louis City SC bounces back with a big 2-1 win over San Jose. And then Seattle's struggles continue as they draw Orlando 0-0. What sticks out to you?
St. Louis City, good.
Yeah, I know you. David's from St. Louis, folks. He's got a little bit of connection there, of course. For me personally, DC United were up 3-0 at halftime over Cincy. They coasted that second half. They didn't have to. It might be the most impressive result I've seen in the entire MLS season so far. 3 starters out for FC Cincinnati. I get it. DC were dominant. They were fantastic. And Wayne Rooney is continually building something there from a team that struggled a lot in recent years. And it's a fan base that's deserving of a string of results like these. So happy to see it. Big win for the Red Bulls over Atlanta. Atlanta struggles continue. I'm not sure. I think you're looking at a hot seat there. Here's my fun theory. As I would love to see Tata turn down Inter Miami and Messi to go back to Atlanta and get them back on track. I think that'd be fun because they've got some good pieces there. I think Caleb Wiley's brilliant. Giacomakis, the new striker, really good. Almada's likely gone this summer. Serie A is tempting him. But Vancouver.
If I was going to pick another one, Austin 3-0 Houston is an interesting result. It seems like Austin is starting to figure stuff out after a really, really rough start to the season.
Ethan Finley.
That is a problem for teams like Minnesota who aren't getting 3 points on a regular basis because now there's even more teams that are involved in this playoff race. And Houston, after a really, really hot start to the season, looks like they're a really polarized home and away team based on these records here.
Well, it's Austin. Loons host Austin on the 8th. So, big game there. Big game. Christopher says Vancouver with a really good result. I agree. I think that's a big win for the Whitecaps. I think
at LAFC too. That's a big game. I
wonder if Cherundolo is going to be on the hot seat in July. I really do, because sometimes, despite being towards the top, we'll use. I don't like using European examples with American soccer because there's little to zero connection. But a lot of the time you will see top managers even finish like first in their league or something, but not win a tournament and get the sack. Look at Nagelsmann and Bayern this past spring. They were in the DFB Pokal. They were in the Champions League knockouts. They were atop the Bundesliga, and he got sacked. Yes, there were other things going on there, but top managers will get sacked by top teams if the results aren't to the standards of the owner, and the owner's standards are typically we win X, we win Y, we win Z. They lost CCL. Now they want to go win Leagues Cup and they want to win MLS Cup. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Cherundolo. That's a topic to be watching in July, along with the ensuing transfer window opening, in my opinion.
Can we go grab one more question before we go?
Yeah, go for it.
Michael Jacobson had one more for us, and you might be better placed to answer this than I do. Why do we continue to put 3 goalies in our game day 18? My suspicion is that it's at least partially right now because we don't have that many more people available on a given game day with the people out on international duty and the people out injured.
true.
And with the fact that we've already used up Emmanuel Awe's short-term signings, so we've used up all 4 of those. So without having to pull somebody up from a mini UFC 2, I think we might be hard pressed to completely fill the 18. Jacob, how far off base am I on that?
You're not very far off, but I also want to add the context that Tony Oluwaseyi is on loan. Patrick Weah is on loan. Mikhail Marquez is injured. Ryan Jiba is an unknown X factor in this situation. I've asked about him a couple times, and each time it's been weird responses where he's injured, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So I don't know what his status is. I can't really confirm anything right now. Maybe I'll bring it up again this week. But you've got 2 players on loan. You've got one homegrown in Paddleford on the bench. You've got another homegrown in Fred Emmings, who was with MNUFC 2. That's also a goalkeeper. So you've got Cam Dunbar. You've got Joseph Rosales on international duty, Dane St. Clair on international duty. Marquez, your other defender, injured. Daniel Henry, who would have been on the bench, had his contract terminated by mutual agreement. Fragapane injured this week. Robin Lud out for the season. God, I feel like I'm missing one. Luis Amaria left, so there's open roster spots. They don't have to. They just don't have they don't have a full team right now with injuries, with players who have left. They've had 2 depart in the past month. They've got 2 out on loan, multiple injured, all that. Just factor it all in, have it make it make sense, and use that. Sorry if I'm kind of repeating myself here, guys. It's 12:20 in the morning. MLS After Dark. We're still up 58 minutes on the show here. We're going to wrap it up shortly. But does that kind of answer your question, David? Did I miss anything?
I think you covered it. It was that was about what I was thinking, just with the mental math of what I know of who's out on international duty, out of roster spots, out injured. Like they don't quite have what you would expect of a full match day 18 right
That's
now.
correct.
And if they've got 3 goalkeepers, even like Dane St. Clair's on international duty, so they're really having to pull out all the stops to get 3 goalkeepers into that squad of 18.
And speaking of Oluwaseyi, San Antonio did lose 3-1 tonight to Sacramento Republic, but Oluwaseyi netted the lone assist on the day. I didn't watch the match. I don't know a ton about it, but what I am seeing is that San Antonio got 2 red cards, including their goalkeeper, and that Carter Manley, former Minnesota United player, was subbed off with an injury 7 minutes in. Or was that due to the red card? I got to see this now, David. This looks insane. 7 minutes, Manley leaves the game, and it is due to injury, unfortunately. My best to Carter, but 2 red cards, including their goalkeeper. Oluwaseyi gets an assist. He's had a fantastic loan spell. I wouldn't be surprised to see a recall after the Leagues Cup. That's kind of
one shout out on a given loan recall. I know Samuel Adeniran had been loaned out from St. Louis City FC down to the USL Championship and was recalled today, started, and scored both goals in St. Louis City's 2-1 win over San Jose, which is
that's nutty.
A pretty baller result.
That's nutty.
And while I'm shouting out things that happened in the St. Louis City match that relates to Minnesota United, shouts to former Loon Aziel Jackson, who got his first MLS start in that game, and who drew a penalty in that game that was one of the 2 goals that Sam Adeniran scored. So shouts to Az.
Well, Loons all over. Good for them both. David, how about we wrap it up?
I'm good with that if you are, my dude.
All right, folks, get your final questions in now while I do my final spiel here. Thank you so much for joining. We are at 12:22 a.m. Central Time, and we have 12 live viewers in here with us. Thank you for staying up with us, MLS After Dark. It was a very interesting evening of soccer for Minnesota United. I look at it as 12th minute of the match, VAR takes a penalty away from RSL. Then the Loons open the scoring. Then the Loons double their lead. We go into halftime confident. Out of the gates, 48th minute, RSL score. VAR takes it away. 53rd minute, 5 minutes later, a lack of VAR intervention. And I still have not heard back from
Running theme of the program
RSL
tonight.
about my pool reporter question on the incident, but Mender Garcia was taken down outside the 18-yard box on what appeared to be a Dogzo level foul. No intervention was made by the referee on the field that we know of. I am waiting to hear back on that still. But then as the match goes on, RSL get one back with about less than 20 minutes to go. And then we see in the 90th minute, 9 minutes of stoppage pop up. Didn't expect it. It was a lot. Loons parked the bus. They brought on Bakai Depasi for his 2023 debut. Brent Coleman also came on. At one point, they were rocking 7 players in the back to try and hold on to the 2-1 lead. But unfortunately, RSL leveled the match in the 98th minute, 8 minutes of 9 stoppage time. And we ended a 2-2 draw. Very, very crazy ending to the match. Unfortunate for Minnesota. They have a friendly against FC Kaiserslautern this week to get back into form before they go back to Allianz Field to host the Portland Timbers next weekend. Folks, that's your wrap up. It was a great night. Thank you so much for joining us.
And can we wrap on one good note?
Yeah, wrap. What do you got, David?
First goal of the year for Sonny Dotson. First goal of the year for Emmanuel Reynoso. First MLS assist for Sungbin Jong. Great milestones. Great things to build off of moving forward. Let's end on the good side.
And I don't think you can blame Clint Irwin for either of the goals tonight. He's set to start for a few weeks at least. I would assume Canada make the semifinals at least of the Gold Cup. So you'll see Dane St. Clair gone for a while. A great shout for a veteran goalkeeper who once played in MLS Cup with Toronto. He's experienced. He knows what he's doing. He's going to get a string of matches. And hopefully we see some transfers come over the line as the window opens in June. Reminders, Timu Pukki, the rumored DP forward, Finnish international, a left back, and a potential midfielder. We've got little less than a month now until the 2023 Leagues Cup begins. The Loons have a string of home matches in July. It's going to be a fun time. We'll be here for all of it. Reminder, though, to be here for all of that, we need your support. Patreon.com/SotaSoccer. You can join for as little as $3 per month, and we flourish because of you. So if you subscribe now, thank you so much. If you don't, you're missing out on the fun. There are some benefits and perks. I do giveaways on social media for our Patreon members. I need to do one that I've been wanting to do for a while. Just been a busy couple of weeks, so maybe that'll be July 1st through the 16th when they play LAFC. We'll do a Patreon giveaway before the Leagues Cup, and then maybe I'll come up with another one for the Leagues Cup for our subscribers. So thank you so much. For David Naylor, I'm Jacob Schneider, and this is Post Loons on sotasoccer.com.